we always had whatever the missing link was at my house. God bless my parents for having that kind of patience for allowing that to happen, because I'm sure it was dreadful and god awful 99% of the time, but we had a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool.
And then I started out as a guitarist, and then at some point I had a couple of very good guitarists that wanted to come over and play, and because I own the bass amp and the bass guitar, I just became a bass player to fill up the missing link in the equation at my house, and I really enjoyed bass guitar, and I'm touching my face a lot, and I like it. I'm not worried about Corona or anything else for that matter.
Yeah, right.
So then I just fell in love with the bass guitar. But my peers, my friends say, you play bass like a guitarist. And I get that, and I'm okay with that, because in the band that I play in, Adam X, it's guitar, bass, and drums, and a singer.
Right.
So it's really a 4-piece, 3+1. It's 3 musicians and a singer.
Right.
But how did you get in contact with Madam X then? Because it was early 80s, right?
Sorry, repeat that one more time, please.
How did you get contact with Madam X? Because it was in the early 80s. You get contact from Petrucci, or
Roxy.
Kim, I'm still unclear in hearing exactly what you said. Could you repeat that, please?
Right, repeat it.
How did you get in contact with Madam X?
Oh, how did I get in contact? Well,
Yeah.
I was a bass player in another band, and my drummer in that band that I was playing in was always talking about the girls, which would be Maxine and Roxy, who played in another band. And then he mentioned that they were auditioning bass players. So I secretly found out where, a mutual contact, and I went to audition for them. And as I was waiting for my audition, it was at a house in Detroit, and it was like a cattle call of bass players, number 12, number 13, number 14,
Yeah.
And I watched these guys go down, play a song, and then come back up. And then it was my turn, and I went down to play my song, and then I played a second song, and then I played a third song, then I played a fourth song, and I was there for probably an hour and a half.
Oh.
And then I got a phone call that said, we want you to be our bass player. So that was really my audition, and I kind of knew, because I lasted more than one song, that things were moving in my direction. But then the girls asked me to be the bass player in their band, and of course I accepted. And then we evolved from that band to Madam X within a couple of years.
Oh.
We probably played clubs in Detroit for at least a year, solid, every 7 days a week, every day, every week. Playing cover music.
Okay.
And then we switched singers at some point, and started to work on original music, 1 or 2 songs a night, not trying to be an original band right off the bat. I don't know that I really, so that's how the progression went. You write a song, play a song, and see how it's accepted, because we were playing clubs and people expect you to play music that people understand and know, and that's what we were doing. So we slip in an original song once in a while. And then at some point in 1981, I think it was, we went to the East Coast of the USA, from Detroit to New York to play, because we had a manager that was on the East Coast that wanted us to come out there. So we had a different singer at the time. We played a couple of shows on the East Coast, and one of the shows we played at a place called Hammerheads on Long Island. The support band, the opening act, was a group with an incredible lead singer, who we absolutely fell in love with, his energy and his delivery of a song, and had a chat with him, and we ended up at that point firing the singer that we had that was from Detroit, sending him from Connecticut, which was where we were living back then, back to Detroit, and hiring this East Coast kid named Brett Kaiser.
Yeah.
And that became the Madam X unit that went on to, make records and play, from 1980. Well, we reserved the Riot Monstrosity record, and currently we're working on a new record, which is absolutely freaking amazing, if I could say that, with some very, very, very talented people. And we'll get to that here in a moment. But that was it. I mean, we were playing in Detroit for $250 a night in 1981, and we went to New York playing with Brett Kaiser as our singer to playing for $4,000 a night in the same week. So we said to ourselves, we want to live on the East Coast. Not because I'm a Detroit boy. I love Detroit. I love this area. But the money opportunity and the reception, with L'Amour's and the different clubs in New York was overwhelmingly, a genuine response to playing original music and producing and performing a proper show. It went from being a club band to being artists.
Yeah.
Like that.
And the first album is absolutely great.
Well, we were a club band in Detroit. When we went to the East Coast, it was a show. It was an event. And that's, in Detroit, I love Detroit. And at the time, there's probably several hundred clubs that would have entertainment 5 days a week with a lot of competing bands. And what the advantage to us, I think, was that any given day of the week, if you weren't playing, you could go to one of 200 clubs and see one of 200 amazing bands playing, performing, people with their heart and soul. Just, I'll give you some names, and you're not going to know these names, but if you could go on YouTube and you can see these groups, and you'll understand. In the 80s, there was a group called Strut, Strutt. Okay, a group called Bittersweet Alley was another big band. Toby Red, The Look. These were band Seduce, bands that had so much game. And as a young musician, I shouldn't forget Muggsy, The Weapons. These groups had so much. They were like rock stars that you could touch. As a young musician, they just brought a different level of entertainment. So we would go steal whatever they had going on, or try to steal it, and try to adopt that performance level, and keep upping our game. And of course, the advantage that we had with Madam X is we had two women, Maxine and Roxy, guitarist and drummer, who were sisters that played as hard and as good as any man on the planet at that time. And to this day, they have so much. I play with Roxy on stage, and she hits the drums like it's the end of the world. She beats them, and Maxine's like, she rips and shreds like a man, And so that took the although that's a plus, a bonus for a selling point, but for me as a musician, they play every bit as hard, maybe even harder than I do on stage, and I sweat a lot. So that was when the girls hired me, I knew this was a game changer for me as a musician. When we got Brett, I knew it was a game changer for us as a band, because we secured all the facets of the diamond that Madam X is and was. And now as we are now today working on a new record, we have two more facets to the diamond. Okay. We're working with a producer by the name of Chris Laney, who's a Swedish lad who plays with he's a full-time musician. He plays with Pretty Maids. Okay, he's a producer, a songwriter, an engineer, but he's Madam X's producer right now, and there's not a person I feel that is more qualified to lead the Madam X project today in 2020, 2021. I told him, I said, bro, I said, you're the Mutt Lang of 2021, and I don't know if you know who Mutt Lang is. Mutt Lang is a producer who did Back in Black, rather, AC/DC.
Oh, okay.
Def Leppard's Pyromania. When I heard those two albums, from the first 30 seconds of the first song, it grabbed me. Well, we've been taking, oddly enough, some demo. I mean, here, Chris was a fan of Madam X he's 10 years younger than I am, from when he was a young lad. And he said, send me stuff. And Henrik Halverson, who's another diamond, or another facet, rather, in the Diamond of Madam X, who introduced us to Chris Laney and understands very thoroughly the dynamic of Madam X and what the band is capable of and what the band is doing on a day-by-day basis. And he said, you have to meet this guy, Chris Laney. And he introduced me. And I met, actually, formally Chris at Sweden Rock in 2018. And we had a nice chat. And then Henrik introduced us. And then I did an interview with Henrik not so long ago. And I said, listen to the old Harpos in 1985, Madam X at Harpos in Detroit.
Yeah.
You can find it on YouTube. I said that the band at that point was, our record had just come out. We were 20 years old, and our ass was fucking on fire. Not our whole ass, our asshole included. We were fucking shit hot. And he listened to it, and he goes, oh, I'm hearing these songs that are not on the record, and blah, blah, blah. And he says, I love this song. I love this, And he says, can I send this stuff to Chris? And I said, of course. And then I got a message from Chris. He says, Chris, I love, I'm Chris Laney, and I'm loving what I'm hearing, and I'm hearing some gems in this. Do you mind if I take some of this stuff and I structure it and do a different mix on a different arrangement? I said, bro, there's nothing etched in stone. Follow your heart, follow your musical heart, okay? So then he did that, and he gave us back these songs that are like, oh my God, I can't even believe, it's like, I know those songs, the songs we played in 1985 at that Harpo show were songs that didn't make it on the record, but I felt as a band we had great things going on, little gems. I mean, there was good stuff in these songs, but they didn't make it on the record for whatever reason. And Chris took these songs and these ideas and then turned them into just wow, like the new. We've got a lot of aces.
Right.
We have a lot of aces on this new record. So let me back up. We're working on a new record with Chris Laney producing. And if you don't know who Chris Laney is, I said, Chris, what kind of awards do you have? And he goes, I've been nominated 9 times for Grammys, of which I only have 2.
Wow.
Like, okay. And
That's pretty cool.
One of my favorite bands, Crash Diet, a Swedish band.
Cool.
Crazy Licks.
Yeah.
Another Swedish band.
Yeah.
Heat, yeah.
Another
Swedish band. Yes.
Maybe they're from Denmark.
No, they're from Sweden.
Every band that he's had something to do with, I listen to their music and I'm like, I just love what they do. There's so much energy and so much, heart and that's, if I could, I hate to say model myself after somebody, but all the elements of those bands that I mentioned, and he's working with Key from I think that's how you pronounce his name, from the group Europe.
Yeah, Key Marcello.
Chris says, he's got a dozen awards at home, some 4, 5, 7 times platinum.
That's cool.
And he lost count.
That's pretty cool.
And rightly so. Though he has those awards because he's very, very, very freaking good at what he does. And I'm telling you, for Madam X, I don't believe there's another person living on this planet that's more qualified and has more heart and understanding of what Madam X is. And the new music we've been producing it's shockingly, eye-awakeningly, crazy, festival, Europe. I'm not talking U.S. festivals because that's different. European festivals where everybody's going, it's just blood pumping, energy, big choruses, big verses, big music. It's really like shockingly wow.
Right.
It takes, I say Chris is the fifth member of the band because he's bringing something to the table that's, as an artist and as a songwriter, you come up with a hook, you come up with a lyric, you come up with a verse, you come up with a guitar riff, and then, and that's fine. But if there's a person there that can bring the best out in that performance,
Right.
of all the players, that is the maybe I'll say this, the most important person on the record is the producer, and
Right.
and Chris is that guy, and Henrik Halverson for guiding the project and keeping everybody in touch and everything up to speed. Golden, and then there's Daniela Pellick, who's a journalist from Sweden, who's been very instrumental, and people like Randy Gill from the United States, who's an Uber fan. He's never missed a Madam X show ever. And Kevin and Andrew Lieb, who run the Madam X fan site. They're just very, very, very key people. But in Madam X we're a living, breathing
Right.
entity. We're a band of 4 people plus the team on the side, and it's and thank God to Johannes from Sweden Rock, who contacted us in 2014 on a whim and said, "Would you be interested in playing Sweden Rock?"
That's pretty cool.
And the band said yes, and then they contacted me and said, "Hey, we got an offer to play Sweden Rock Festival. Do you want to do it?" I said, like,
Yes, sure.
I want to do it. And that was we played together after not playing together for 30 years.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I said, when I saw the contract, I said to the band, I said, are they out of their fucking mind? Do they know that we haven't been together for 30 years and they're offering this opportunity and this and the money to for me as now a man to live out my fantasy,
Right.
and it was all legit, and we played together. I went on stage with the mindset that I was saying hello and goodbye. You'll see me now, and after this, you won't see me again in this band, because I just thought it was a one-off.
Right.
But when we played, it felt so good, and the audience was so wonderful, and the response was so overwhelmingly, the welcome, that we all decided to do another record, and that was the Monstrosity record. We went to Sweden Rock with a song called Another 80s Rock Song, and I wrote that song with the mindset that there ain't nothing wrong with another 80s rock song.
Right.
Someone let the fuse and set the fucker on fire. Someone lit the fuse, and it was Sweden Rock, and we set the fucker on fire. And we went there with that as a hello, here's a new song.
Right.
And then it turned into the Monstrosity record,
Yeah.
which we self-produced, and no shame in that game. But now with Chris producing the new record, we've gone back to our old roots.
Cool.
In a lot of ways. The music is more
Fresh.
If you're a fan of Madam X from the 80s,
Right.
you're gonna love what we're doing right now, because they're just big. I can't big songs, big hooks. If you had a love for your childhood, we're bringing your childhood back.
And when will be released this album, Chris?
Pardon me?
When will be released this new album?
2021 is I think November
goal?
is the goal for this new record.
Right.
Mind you, we're still writing and recording, and I'll send Chris and Rialdo. I'll be up at 5 a.m. and I'll wake up. I have a guitar by my bed. The other morning, I was trying to fall back asleep, but I had this idea keep spinning in my head, so I picked up my little acoustic, and I figured out what I heard in my head, and then I turned on my phone, recorded it, and then put the guitar back down and went back to sleep.
Right.
So we're just constantly sending Chris new ideas and new stuff. But we have, I don't know how many gems we have. We have a lot of really great music.
Right.
And Chris is so wonderful at taking these ideas and turning them into songs. I mean, there's songs going in, but they're great songs coming out.
Right.
And it's Chris. He's very, very talented.
And Chris, who is Unchill, and who is making the lyrics for this new record? All the members of the band, or are just you, Roxy?
Well, we all have lyrics on the album. I wrote a song. God, I can't remember the title of the song.
Okay.
No problem.
It's called Welcome. Tentatively, it's called Welcome.
Okay.
And it was, it's a welcome to the show song,
Mm.
And Roxy chimed in and said she'd like to, add something to the lyric, and then, Brett said, he has something to add to the lyric, and I'm good with that. And sooner or later, I think it'll be Chris's last call as to these lyrics. I'm putting, to be honest with you, I'm putting all my faith, heart into Chris's decisions. I believe he's should be the last say, because he has a vision and he has a knowledge of the taste in European music, and I trust him on this.
Right.
We'll sell records in the United States because we sell records in the United States.
Right.
We'll sell records in South America and Japan and Canada because we sell records. But in Europe, the taste is a little bit different, and the energy of the audience is,
A little different.
shall I say, a little bit more
Quiet?
powerful.
Powerful?
Not quiet. Oh my God, a European audience is... Detroit rocks hard. Europe rocks at a different pace. I mean, like I say, like I'm always marching to the beat of a different drummer. My drummer is doing a drum solo, always, in my head. But the European audiences are they're not laid back, they're not chill. It's like, hi, it's like a festival audiences,
Right.
And Chris understands that, and that's what I think we're going back to our roots, and we're going back to a time when music was different and it was enjoyable and it was fun and the audiences were over the top. And I believe the European audience is still that, and likewise with South America and Japan and the United States and Canada. However, if you start out with a European sound, and I hope you understand where I'm going with this.
Right.
The energy level in the UK and UK, but America, Canada, South America, Japan, and the other territories will be even higher because
Right.
we're not starting out doing ballads. We're starting out kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yes.
the music is really it's beyond over the top, superior to
To make things.
what you
And,
would expect
and
from
when do
pardon me?
you have plans to come to Norway or Mexico or Latin America with a tour with the band or not this year?
Right now, we are working on the record. Right now, we have labels talking to us about, based on the demos that they've received,
Mm-hmm.
talk about how they can benefit Madam X if we were on their label. So there's a lot of
Work to do.
politics,
Yeah.
money, negotiation. But yes, it will be, yes. To answer your question, we would most likely use a European agency if our label is European, which will benefit us as far as being available and doing the festivals and the performances in different countries. In Mexico, of course, you know.
You been before in Mexico?
Pardon me?
You played before, or you been before in Mexico?
I've not performed as an artist. Yes, I did perform as an artist. I did perform in Mexico, and it was on the island of Las Mayores, off of Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah, in Yucatan, yeah.
Yeah, but I was on vacation,
Cool.
drinking lots of alcohol, and there was a mariachi band.
Right.
And I grabbed the bass guitar from the mariachi guy, and I went oompa, 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 oompa.
Drinking tequila or Corona.
And then I gave it back to him and went on to drinking. So yes, I did perform.
Cool. Do you like Mexico?
I love Mexico.
Cool.
Are you Mexican?
I'm Mexican. Yo soy mexicana, yes. From Mexico
You're
City.
Mexicana?
Yeah, soy mexicana,
So
sí.
I'm gonna say this to you, and nobody else is gonna understand what I'm gonna say, but
Okay.
I'll say it to you, and then please forgive me
Nice.
because I've had a couple of cocktails. But I say, "Mi gusto camaro limpia panocha."
I have no idea what it is.
Oh, see, you're gonna punch me later on.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And it's funny. It's funny because it's some you understand some words in Spanish, and the first words I guess everybody learn first is the bad words. So that's pretty cool to hear.
Of course, and I'm a bad boy,
Panocha are
but I'm
this?
very good at it.
Oh. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. So,
Sí,
Yeah, you always learn the stuff that you shouldn't know first.
of course, it's the most important.
And do you know more words
I
in
can get
Spanish?
arrested in 7 different countries.
Right.
But can you tell me a little
Can't
bit?
talk my way out of it.
Can you tell me about what's happened after the first album?
Say, I'm sorry, one more time.
After the first album, you were just gone. What happened?
Repeat that one more time, please.
When you was giving out the first album, after that you were like gone. What happened?
Oh, you want all the dirty details?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, We Reserve the Right came out
Yeah.
in it was recorded in 1984. It was really released early 1985. And our manager, Don Arden, who is Sharon Arden Ozzy Osbourne's father-in-law, Sharon Arden's father,
Yeah,
was our
Sharon
manager.
Osbourne, yeah.
At the time that Don managed my band, Madam X, he also managed Black Sabbath,
Okay.
and he was fighting his daughter Sharon over the control of Ozzy.
Yeah.
He also managed at the time Air Supply, Electric Light Orchestra,
Mhm.
and I believe Heavy Pettin',
Okay.
which is a group around the Madam X time. So when Don found us, he said, we played in Los Angeles. We were playing all over the United States for several years, every day, for 2 years straight. And then we decided at some point we want to go get our record deal. And we went from the East Coast to Los Angeles with this mindset as stupid kids that we're just going to go out to Los Angeles and we're just going to play and we're just going to get our record deal like that.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
And we just thought that was possible. So we went to Los Angeles. Our agent booked us for 2 weeks there. We showed up. Nobody knew who we were. Nobody knew that we were supposed to be there. And we took the opportunity to book 2 shows ourselves. One was at Madam Wong's West, and the second date was at the Troubadour. So
Okay.
we played Madam Wong's West on a Sunday night to about 50 people. And when I retired from the music business in '91, I bought a nightclub, and
Okay.
I bought several, but I had a guy who came. Gilby Clark was in this group. I think it was Gilby Clark with Eric Singer playing drums.
Eric Singer?
And Gilby says, after he did his performance at my club, he says, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "Yeah, you're Gilby Clark from Guns N' Roses." He says, no. He says, I was the sound man at Madame Wong's West when you played there, you know, in 1984. And so we had a good chat and a good laugh. But so we played at Madame Wong's West, and this woman, Lucy Forbes, I hope these people hear this because I have lots of love for anybody that I mentioned while we're doing this interview. And the reason I mention them is because they're always in my heart, these people, because I owe everything to my hard work, my band's hard work and sweat, and these people believing in a stupid kid from the Midwest, which would be me. So
Godzilla.
we played Madame Wong's West in front of 50 people. I think Chris Holmes was there, Blackie Lawless, some rockers. You know, we were from Detroit, you know, from New York, Detroit, Madame X, blah, 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 blah. You know, the promos of which I drew this shit out, did some clippings, and went to Kinko's or some kind of a printing company and printed up these flyers and passed them out on Sunset Boulevard like everybody else in the 80s, in front of Gazzari's and Rainbow and the Roxy and the Rock, you know, Whiskey Go Go, and you know, and try to talk people into coming to see a band who they'd never seen before or knew nothing about. So we did that, and Lucy Forbes, after our show, said, "You're amazing. Oh, I love you. There's nobody like you guys. Don't even bother changing your outfits after we got off stage." Mind you, I had all leather on with my ass hanging out, and, you know, a jockstrap on, my hair up, you know, 4 feet above my head, and the whole band was like this. Don't bother changing. As the crew's tearing down, we had a semi-tractor trailer at the time. We brought all this gear into a club that held 200 people. You know, it was like an arena-sized system in this little club. And I'm going to take you to a place called the Rainbow Bar and Grill, she says. So we pile in our car. I had a Camaro at the time, and we followed her to the Rainbow Bar and Grill, parked, and she says, "Don't bother changing. Everybody in this place, they're all rockers. They'll get it. You know, you'll fit right in." So I believed her, and we walk into this bar, nightclub, restaurant, looking like we came off of some freaking planet. And the musicians were looking at us like, where the fuck did these guys come from? Who the fuck are these? We look like, you know, like the freak parade, you know, just came to your town, you know? So as I'm walking in this 1 a.m., you know, on a Sunday night, there was people everywhere. And I walked past this table, and there was a group of 3 gentlemen. And the one man says, "Where are you guys from?" I said, "Well, we're Madame X from Detroit." And he says, "Well, my name is Bob Street from Jet Records.
Oh,
and
cool.
if you have promo you can give me, I would be glad to share that with my boss, Don Arden." So I went out to my vehicle and I got him an old school press kit, you know, in a manila envelope with what the band is about. And we went out about our business. You know, I talked to him for a minute. You know, this is who we are. It's what we do. Blah 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 blah. So, and we enjoyed the evening. And then the next day, I called my agent back in Texas, and he goes, "Do you know who Don Arden is?" I said, "No." He goes, "Yeah, you know, he manages Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath and Air Supply and Electric Light Orchestra, and he's responsible for 280 million records sold worldwide, and he wants to speak with the troubadour." Like, holy shit! So he says, "Here's his number. Call him up." So I call him up. Old school payphone, you know, put in money in the payphone. "Hi, Don Arden. My name is Chris from Madame X." And he says, "Come on up and meet me and the crew," you know, in his office in his British accent. So Brett and I went up to talk to Don, and we had a chat with Don. He goes, "We're going to come and see you at the Troubadour on, it was a Thursday night." He says, "Now put myself and the entire Jet office on the guest list at the Troubadour." So we did that. And we played again in front of 100 people, of which 50 people was the Jet office, you know, and we played our freaking asses off. I mean, the band probably never played better ever, you know.
Oh.
And we played, and we went up to the dressing room. So stage left, you go up the stairs to the dressing room, and And mind you, if you don't know the Troubadour, Rolling Stones played Troubadour, Led Zeppelin played Troubadour,
Okay.
The Doors Troubadour,
Oh.
Guns N' Roses, everybody, Metallica, everybody's played the Troubadours, right?
Motley
So we
Crue.
go up to the
Yeah.
restroom
Legendary
and
place.
Oh, it is legendary for sure, and the best place to be signed by a record label. If you're ever going to get signed, do it at the Troubadour. So we go up to the dressing room after our performance. We're dripping sweat and exhausted, and my bass tech, who was also our stage manager at the time, ran up the stairs like his asshole was on fire. Closed the door. Don Arden's coming up. He wants to see you guys. And like 10 seconds later, this gentleman, Don Arden, comes into the dressing room and introduced himself. My name is Don Arden from Jet Records, and you're my greatest find in the last 5 years, and I want to sign you to my record label. Now, we're going to have CBS. Most likely CBS is going to release your record, and we're going to pick a producer, and he went on and on and on about, here's the timeline. I'm going to sign you. The attorneys will draw up the contracts. I want you to don't talk to anybody. You're going to be my back.
Right.
And I want you to go back on the road and play, but call me, my office, every day and report back to me and tell me where you are, what you're doing. And so, and I mean, dude, it was like all my Christmases in my entire life were delivered to me again on the same day.
Right.
Because honestly, living as a musician, maybe you know this, maybe you don't know this, but you live like a second-class citizen.
Oh.
As a band, Madam X, we went from playing 5, 6, 7 days a week, 5 sets a night. Before we got signed, we went down to a 90-minute, maybe 2 75-minute shows a night. Went from playing 5 or 7 days in one venue down to do 2 nights in one place, a travel day, maybe a travel day, but maybe going to the next night another city, next night another city, next night another city. But we went from making, I don't know, $1,500 a week as a band to a couple $1,000 a night, 5, 6, 7 days a week. But
Big
it was
difference.
a lot of work. And we had a crew of 4 to 5, 6 people traveling with us, plus the band, and we're in a different city almost every night.
Okay.
Although the money was increased, exponentially, but we were sending our money, our funds back to our manager at the time on the East Coast to pay our bills.
Oh, yeah.
So we salaried ourselves at a modest $175 a week per crew member who
Really?
unloaded a semi 40-foot tractor trailer every day and set the gear up and then loaded it out the same nights, and we drove to the next city, and we salaried ourselves. The band was even made less. So my point is, I lived off of whatever the venue would provide as our rider meal and our dressing room food, and still managed to buy picks and strings. And you live like a second-class citizen. Although you're making a lot of money goes out.
Yeah.
Okay. And why did I do that? I did it because I love music, and I love people, and to see the joy of a performance on an audience member's face, and to hear the comments, is kind of it's priceless. There's a fan is the most important person in my life, in a musician's life, because if it wasn't, dude, I could play to myself in my house,
right,
and be comfortable. I get no joy from that. I noodle. I write songs. I play for me. I can play and entertain myself. But the feeling of touching the soul in the mind of another person is like being an artist.
Right.
Beyond anything conceivable.
Right.
So. Yeah, it's a life-changing moment. So Don said, "I want you to be on my label."
That's pretty cool.
And we did a record with John, with Don, and it was our time. The timing of the release was awkward because at that time there was something called the PMRC, which was a group of I don't know of women that wanted warning labels on records, and Cass got your tongue says F is for fighting, C is for chew, K is in knuckles, all I need is a U. So we spelled out fuck. This dog's looking for a little fun. I'm gonna get that pussy. I'm gonna run it. And the label says, boy, you can't say pussy. It'll say,
Panocha.
we're talking about a cat.
Decir panocha.
It's cat.
Right? It's panocha, right?
Panocha.
Exactly. I'll have that with the next inside of panocha. And so we got, we went under the radar with that. CBS and all the people that was monitoring your every move back then. But and then we were scheduled to do our second record with Jet, and Don all of a sudden was not available. The DA is in with Don, there's some issues, and at that time, Roxy was being
Vixen.
pursued by Vixen, and Brett was, we were on hold. The band was on hold because of the Jet situation, and Brett went back to the East Coast to play in a group with his brother.
Okay.
After we did a Canadian tour and so forth, and we were just like, hanging out, and there's a saying in the music business, it's like hurry up and wait, hurry up now wait,
Yeah.
and we were on a hurry up and wait thing, and so Roxy explored the Vixen thing. Brett went back to the East Coast to play with his brother to kill time, and Maxine and myself were like, okay, well we still want to play. And we had contracts and dates of venues that wanted us to perform, so we hired a couple other guys.
Yeah, we hired Sebastian Bach, right?
To fill in the blank. And that was really it. And then after that, Don had legal issues of which he was extradited back to England on attempted murder charges because he found...
Oops.
No, it's not bad.
What happened?
Accountant was embezzling money from him, and Don, it was a bulldog. Take no shit, 60-year-old motherfucker.
Oh.
This guy, I'm telling you, he was built like a brick shit house,
Okay.
and he took no shit. And so he chased his accountant back to Britain and beat him up. And Don told us the story, and maybe someday I'll share that story with you verbatim, his words to me.
Okay, yeah.
On how collected the money that he could collect back from the accountant. So he beat the accountant up, collected some of the money back.
Okay.
And the accountant retaliated and told the Bobby, the Scotland Yard, that it was attempted murder. And I said Don on attempted murder charges, of which Don had no intent. If Don wanted to kill him, you'd never hear from him. He would have been dead.
Right.
No.
Okay?
Yeah. Yes.
So attempted murder. This was, give me my fucking money back.
Right.
So, and then as another retaliation from the accountant, he reported Don to the IRS for tax evasion. So when Don was done with it, acquitted on his attempted murder charges, Don came back to the United States to face his tax evasion charges. Well, the Jet office was...
Oh, yeah.
Oui.
One week we had meetings with Don. The next week there was trucks there unloading everything from the office. It was done. There was no more Jet office. So at that point we were under contract with Don. Madam X was done, which made it easier for Vixen to scoop up Roxy.
Oh.
And Brett continued on with his brother's group, and Maxine and I continued to with the Madam X vision,
Right.
I knew what I wanted to do, and she knew what she wanted to do. We hired two other guys, teamed up with them, and continued the Madam X name. Now, again, with 2014, Johannes from Sweden Rock Festival, one of the buyers, contacted Maxine and asked if you guys as Madam X, all original members would like to do Sweden Rock Festival. And that was the catalyst, that turning point of Madam X 30 years after I had given up on the music business. Mind you, we continued for several years, but Nirvana, the grunge in the United States, I don't know if you guys felt it in
Fuck up the metal.
music changed
A lot.
and 80s hair band stuff was no longer a thing. The new color on the wall was orange, and that orange was Nirvana and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and all this.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I was not about to start writing songs and pretending that I'm all of a sudden a grunge band.
Right.
It just wasn't me. So I opted to move back from Los Angeles back to Michigan. I bought a couple nightclubs, and that's what I did after my musical journey, of which I really never gave up in my heart. I just didn't want to be jumping on someone else's bandwagon trying to be what they are. That was just not, where my head was at, where my heart was at.
No.
Right.
I seen a old interview from 1987 with you and Sebastian Bach.
Yes.
From Skid Row.
He was part of your band,
He was
right?
part of your band, wasn't he? For a while?
Sebastian was a band member. We played in Canada as Madam X with Brett, Canadian tour, and there was a kid in the audience by the name of Sebastian and his girlfriend at the time. I remember them at Hard Rock, Heaven. I think it was Rock and Roll Heaven in Toronto.
Okay.
Right.
As he was probably 16, 17 at the time, and we played, and then Brett went on. The Jet Records had gone, its direction, and the promoter that brought us to Canada, Sean Pilot, called me on the phone, and old school, probably put a quarter in it, and or something. Sticking it all away. I don't give a fuck. So, and then he said, I have a guy, I understand, Brett's doing his thing on the East Coast with his brother and Roxy. And at the time, Maxine and I had hired a drummer by the name of Mark McConnell. We call him Bam Bam because he was
Bam Bam.
a monster. He was an incredible showman, an incredible drummer, and very likable and in tune with what we were doing. So we hired Mark McConnell, and then I got a call from Sean Pilot and said, I understand you're looking for a singer. I have a singer by the name of Sebastian. I'd like to send you his press kit. And I said, okay. And a couple weeks later, this little envelope shows up in the mail with a photo, a bio, and a cassette. And I opened it up, and I pulled out the photo, and I looked and said, guys that look like this can't sing. It was a beautiful boy. And I read his bio, and I put the cassette in the, we went out to, I was in Phoenix at the time, at a place called Rockers, and the owner, Rick Center, was a big Madam X fan and supporter.
Cool.
And he let us do our pre-production there in Phoenix. God bless him.
Yeah.
And I was in his new Lincoln at the time, which had an awesome stereo system, and I put this cassette in. If you don't know what a cassette is, it's
of course.
plastic with tape in it.
Very 80s.
And, yeah. So I put it in, and I hear this voice of a beautiful voice.
Yeah, he's powerful voice. Yes.
Yeah, of course. He's still wonderful, and he's still a friend of mine. I love that kid.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
And so I said, okay, this is pretty amazing. We brought him out to do auditions and feel him out, and he became a member of the band.
Cool.
And he Brett's got big shoes to fill, and Sebastian came to the party and killed it. And then at some point, we were switching gears with the Madam X project, and Sebastian was young and crazy, and not that I'm not, but we brought him to a wedding on the East Coast, of which was all rockstar wedding. Our photographer Mark Weiss, it was his wedding, and who was there? Oh, Kevin DuBrow was there from Quiet Riot, and Zach Wild from Ozzy Osbourne, and Little Steven from Bruce in the E Street Band, and Bruce Springsteen, and the guys from Skid Row and Cinderella and on and on and on. It was a rock star wedding, right?
Right.
And Maxine and myself. And I called Mark Weiss and I said, Sebastian wants to come to the wedding, and Mark, our drummer. Is that okay? He goes, yeah, bring him. So we brought him to the East Coast to this wedding. And mind you, at that time we were just partying with Sebastian.
Cool.
And we all sat in with the wedding band, and it was a hoot. It was like a moment I'll never forget. And then John Bon Jovi was there.
Oh, nice.
With Dave, his guy,
Cool.
and John's parents. And John says, I'm putting a group together called Skid Row, and we need a singer. And your guy would be perfect for the project. I said,
right.
well, let me introduce you to Sebastian. And Sebastian and Dave and John exchanged numbers. And a week later, Sebastian's a member of Skid Row.
Oh, so he didn't tell you, I'm going to quit because I'm going to start in a new van.
No. I introduced him to those people because, listen, Sebastian would have been a rock star whether I had done that or not. That was his calling in life.
Right, that's true.
Sebastian had all the makings of being a superstar.
Yeah.
Okay. I could do no more for him.
Right.
As a team member, as a bandmate. Maybe he outgrew Madam X. Maybe his direction was different than our direction at the time.
Right.
But it was a mutual. You should be doing something else.
Right.
And that something else happened in about 2 weeks' time for him.
Cool for
Some
him.
people, it's a meteor, and either you catch the meteor or the meteor hits you and kills you.
Yeah.
Well, he caught the meteor, and he kept on going to be the superstar that he is. I love it. Dude, Sebastian he's a great singer, he's a great performer,
Right.
and I was very, very happy to have been involved with him in my career at some time.
Actually, I have to tell you, for me, he is one of the best voices in metal. The same as Michael Sweet from Striper. But it's a shame he's still not playing in Skid Row too. I guess Skid Row is very cool band too. Shame.
Skid Row is a great band.
Right.
And my prediction is that there's going to be another meteor that comes by, and I know his name, but I'm not going to tell you.
Oh.
And that meteor is going to be the catalyst that brings Sebastian and the group back together to rise up to
Hope so.
2022 superstardom of arenas and being everything that they were again.
Hope so.
Beyond the part.
So
But I'm that kind of a guy. I'm not here for me. I'm here for you.
Right, thank you. And what about you? You have another projects outside of Madam X?
I own a lighting and sound company, of which I'm at one of my venues right now. It's
That's very cool.
can you see that?
yeah.
Yes, we can see it. Cool.
It's I do lighting and sound. I have multiple accounts. Right now, I'm at a place, my favorite place to have lunch. It's called Legends. It's in Detroit.
Okay.
And it's a topless club, but they have the hottest women, the coldest drinks, and the best music.
Is
ever.
that,
So it's perfect.
They even play Madam X.
it's like a strip club? Is a strip club?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm here to meet my friends for lunch. They have an amazing steak special. You get a 16-ounce filet and a couple of sides, potatoes, asparagus,
Cool.
whatever.
That's cool.
For $10, $10 US.
It's cheaper.
It's like they're giving it away. And the drinks are are cold, and it's
Good service.
oh my God, it's everybody knows me and everybody, you know.
We have to go there one day, please.
The food is great. Again, the women are hot and the drinks are cold. And no better place to eat lunch in Detroit.
Invite to us to go there, please. We can go one day.
Well, you guys come to Michigan, and we're gonna come to Legends for Detroit. And if you're not if you're in Detroit ever, I suggest you check the place out. It's wonderful, and they take very, very, very good care of you. Always VIP treatment.
Thank you so much.
Props to them for that.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Where is located for people can go, please? For people can go and visit the place. Where is located?
I think the address is 415 Congress Avenue in Detroit, Michigan.
Cool.
It's any given night there's 1,000, 1,500 people here. It's like Circus Soleil.
Yeah,
with
sure.
topless entertainment. There's fire and there's girls on hoops and
pretty cool.
spinning around and cryo, and it's just a gigantic party. And
That's pretty cool.
I really want to tell you, my friend is an artist, and his name is Eric.